From atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West, you are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Live for August the 8th in the year of our Lord 2025. I'm Sam Bushman, Lance Migliaccio, half of the Big Mig team with me. Check out the Big Mig everywhere. Incredible video is found. Rumble, YouTube, the list goes on and on. X. If liberty means anything at all, it means you have the right to tell people they don't want to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sam Bushman, Lance Migliaccio with me. We're in day 8 of the shutdown. Thank heavens. A lot of people think the shutdown is horrible. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Sam Bushman cheers the shutdown. Why? Because we need to fund America's real government, one bill, one issue at a time. The shutdown isn't the problem. The out-of-control spending by both sides of the aisle is the problem. Lance, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Sam. Happy to be here as always. Excited, snapping necks, cashing checks, tip of the spear, baby.
Well, you're cashing checks. I wish I was, Lance. Maybe you need to pass some checks my way.
Boy, I'll tell you, we are grinding away, though. There is some pain that comes along with that. And we did 3 shows yesterday, and you have to recognize how difficult that is when you're trying to do fresh content. We had to do a pre-record of the show this morning, so. It's one of those things where you got to put in the work to get it done. But I know you are working hard. You're always grinding away.
Man, it's out of control. I've got like 26 jobs and 24 hours to do them in. So there you go. So let me ask you 3 shows, though. One's the Big Mig Show. It's a political breakdown. You and George Ballantine do the show together. Great topics, great information, incredible guests. But you also do a couple of other shows that we really ought to highlight.
Yeah, I mean, our main show is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, Monday through Friday. And it's really a variety show. We get MMA, we get actors and actresses, we get people in the music industry, we get special forces, and yeah, there's definitely political banter. We try to do more of
underwater basket weaving. I get you.
Yeah, well, we try to go all over. We're really taking a page out of the Steve Crowder, the Dan Bongino, the top shows. We try to give people, Joe Rogan. That's kind of what we do. So that's 11 a.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Standard. But then we have the #1 crypto show on Rumble. So if you're trying to figure out, crypto is complicated. It's like a new language for all of us. Lots of new projects, lots of new stuff at 9 a.m. Wednesday, Eastern Standard, and Friday. Great place to get on top of it. And I think crypto is going to be the opportunity for generational wealth for people. But, man, it's complicated. So you got to get in there and you got to learn it step by step.
I love it. So the crypto show, do you do that by yourself, or is George on that show too?
No, that's George and I. It's and it's sponsored by a company called Solum Global. So great show, great company. If you haven't checked them out, you can head over to solum.global and take a look at them. But, it's really a great show because we do this education piece when we don't have interviews. And if you want to find out, let me point out on Friday, we have an interview with the COO of Solum Global, Sebastian Sorrell. This Friday. So that'll be a great interview if you want to learn about Solum. They've got a great AI healthcare wallet. They've got a gold project they're involved in. Of course, gold 4,000 an ounce.
Gold
so
through
exciting.
The roof. Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's a great place. You just come in for the first half hour at a minimum, and you get educated on everything from blockchain, decentralized finance, Web3, you name it, we're covering it.
Decentralized finance, that's music to my ears, buddy.
Yeah, boy. I'm really hopeful that when the digital dollar does come, that we don't hear digital dollar and Federal Reserve in the same paragraph.
I pray you don't, but predict you will.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. There is talk that they're not going to be in it. I'm not a fan of the Federal Reserve, fiat currency and charging us interest on money. They just pull out of thin air. And of course, what happens to the American public? What do we get? We get the shaft, Sam. We get the shaft.
You got that right. When the market goes soft, though, people flee to more stable realities. And that's why gold's doing so well right now, as people realize, hey, we're in trouble, and they're fleeing to safety. It's evident in everything we do. One of the things unique about, crypto is I've never really been a fan of it because it's not backed by anything. And if you don't have your computer, you don't have your digital device, an EMP or something happens, hey, what's going to happen? So that's my concern. So I've always said, don't dip your toe in the crypto. However, some of the new cryptocurrencies are starting to focus on backing themselves with gold and some of those things. And that changes the game for me, Lance.
It is complicated, but I don't think we're ever going to get out of this digital environment. And
We're not.
I understand your concern about crypto, but there are projects. I'm not a big fan of the meme coins. I know those are get rich and people have some success in them, of course, but you've got the rug pulls. But when it comes to the altcoins and it comes to what the true message is behind decentralized finance, and when you look at the big projects like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Bitcoin, I don't know, Sam. I feel pretty confident, and I think as that infrastructure gets reinforced and developed, and as we get clear regulation, I think it's here to stay, and I think it's important, and I do believe that there will be lots of protocols that people are going to take advantage of it and get the opportunity to really get more control of their money.
And they're going to prosper in the process. That's a reality check, ladies and gentlemen. And like I say, as it starts to mature, as it starts to become easier for people to, engage themselves and not get burned or not get over tech involved where they're, over their head in tech or, hey, they lose their wallets or different things. As long as we can start to get some reality checks to it, things get better in a hurry. When are we going to see the MIG coin though? I want the big MIG coin.
Yeah, the big MIG meme coin. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the pump and dump schemes. I'm afraid if I got in there and it started hyping it up, and I saw it was way up, would I rug pull it? I don't want to be tempted to do it.
Well, and the problem is everybody gets tempted. You say you'd never do it, but you never know till you're there. It's kind of like, hey, what would you do if you had a gun in your hand and somebody was threatening you? Do you really have the guts to defend yourself? You never know till you're there. And it's kind of like that with this too, right?
Yeah, I don't know. All of a sudden you're up a couple of $100 million on your meme coin. would you run it? Would you sell and run for cover? I don't know.
The answer is probably yes. Should be no, but the answer is a resounding we'll
no
see.
Doubt.
All right. I don't know if you know, but Arby's rolled out their steak nuggets. Did you see this?
I did not see this. And thankfully, I kind of feel like maybe I shouldn't have seen it.
So it's not chicken nuggets. This is steak nuggets, buddy.
Oh, steak
nationwide.
Nuggets.
They say it's going to be awesome, and you can get them on Monday. So
savory steak nuggets. I don't. The question is, what's in the steak nuggets?
If it's steak, I'm fine. I'm thinking filet mignon nuggets.
The
term nugget though is a problem, right?
They've got the meats, so maybe you're safe. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. Are they going to pay us for this endorsement since we just plugged them with we've got the meats?
They ought to do something. That's for sure. By the way, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings collapsed. It only took 5 shows to go back in the tank. It was up when everybody wanted to see if he was going to apologize. Now he's way back to his numbers down scenario, Lance.
Yeah. Well, look, first of all, Jimmy Kimmel was only getting about 125,000 views an episode. I'm surprised he even still has a show. Let's start with that. Let's start with that. He makes
so much money, though. I'm thinking if they want to quit paying him his $20 million a year or whatever it is, they could probably pay me $1 million and you $1 million. They could decrease their cost 90%, and then they could have a rock and roll show, buddy.
Listen, I agree wholeheartedly. And not only for the money do I agree, but I agree because I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's been fun for a very long time. And I think whenever a show becomes overly politicized, and in his case, I think he's really done that. He stepped over the fence. He's not funny. Jimmy Kimmel hasn't been funny for years. I miss the era of Johnny Carson, and I think you and I could do a great Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon.
I think people liked going to a studio and there was a studio audience and those kind of things. We could do that too for pennies on the dollar. And I think would bring an audience that would raise the roof, buddy.
I agree with that. And I have to tell you, this is what's interesting about these media companies. And what I struggle with is that they don't seem to want to make an even playing field. They don't want to have shows that will just
you can't have truth tellers and do what you're doing to the country, Lance. It just doesn't work.
I would love to see shows just like I'd love to see, mainstream media get back onto being nonpartisan. Let's just do, that's what we do in our show. We go after both sides of the aisle. I don't favor.
And if it's right, we defend both sides of the aisle.
Exactly. If the Democrats did something well or did something good, I would never try to undermine that they've done it. Although it's so rare that they do something. I actually gave a Democrat a shout out the other day because of a positive and a guy that I don't like. But the point is, it's not about liking somebody. I really think that the public they feel like they're in a desert with no truth. I think a network that would focus on bringing a show like you and I on, Sam, where we would just say it like it is, I think they'd be highly successful because I think the general public is tired of these controlled narratives.
Well, and that's why Joe Rogan and some of the others are doing so well because, hey, whether you like or disagree with Joe, it doesn't matter. He's more liberal than I am and everything else. But you know what? He tells a lot of truth. You got to give him credit. When we come back, I want to talk about the Supreme Court. Two interesting cases to tell you about Ghislaine and our dear friend, Laura Loomer, all in the news. We'll talk about that real quick. Then we'll come straight back to, I don't know, what are the questions and answers in Congress, maybe?
Maybe.
Hang tight, Lance and Stan.
Fire and ice, baby. Fire and ice.
You gotta love it. All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Two people dealing with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court cranked up their session. They always do so in October. What they usually do is jettison a few cases, say they won't take them. Then they pontificate on cases all year long. And around June, they tell you the tale of what they think. They usually walk tightropes. They don't want to just double down on the Constitution. They want to kind of play games. Sad but true. Ghislaine Maxwell's the first one. The Supreme Court has refused to hear her appeal. They shut her down. She tried to say, hey, you know what? Jeff had a big deal back in Florida, and I want to get protection from that deal. The court said, we're not going to take your case. So that was their way of saying no. But they didn't really, in my opinion, explain themselves. Now the remaining option for her relies with Donald Trump. He hasn't said he'll give her a pardon or anything like that. The question is, will he? I pray the answer is no. But they did transfer her. Shame on Kash Patel. They did transfer her to a minimum security prison in Texas after they say she's cooperating on the Epstein case. I don't know that she's really cooperated much. They haven't shared much with us about the cooperation, like a list that we all wanted to see, etc., naming names, you know. But at the end of the day, she's got a soft sentence even now, Lance.
Well, I don't know that I got to say this. I don't know that it's ever soft when you're in prison, but I'd have to point this out that her offense level's probably very low. She was probably qualified for a camp up front. It's the length of her sentence that would have made her not camp approvable. So they did have to do what's called a management variable, and that's how they actually modified to be able to move her to a lower level of detention. But it doesn't surprise me. Look, at the end of the day, she has no priors. That move, of course, that's what the DOJ does. Those are the tools they use to negotiate with people. If they can't give her a sentence cut, and there's nothing to say, Sam, right now that the sentence cut is off the table. Normally in cooperation, when you give them assistance, and that assistance is valuable, and in this case, who knows how valuable it was because we don't really know what kind of a dialogue transpired between.
Well, we know since no one's going to jail, it doesn't seem like she helped much.
Well, we're violating the rules right now. We're not supposed to talk about Epstein, Sam. Shh. Don't talk about Epstein.
We need to release the files, and we need to do it now because here's the problem.
Yeah.
Whether Epstein's alive or dead, don't know. Okay, I think he's probably dead. Who knows? Whether he committed suicide or whether somebody took him out, still, again, don't know, don't care. What matters to me, though, is this. You've got a sex ring that I guarantee somebody was ready to step in. You don't just have a first string and a second string and a third string quarterback and these kind of things. Somebody took that over, and I believe that the, quote, network he built, the betrayal network, the bribe and whatever, the, put you over a barrel network is still in play.
I call it the bribery, extortion, and blackmail network.
Okay, that's still in effect, I'm convinced. And I'll tell you why. Even drug cartels, they don't just go down when the leader gets taken out. There's somebody to fill the void every time, Lance. Let's not pretend that's not true.
No, you're right over the target, and that's exactly why they don't want us talking about it. We're still talking about Epstein on all of our shows because at the end of the day, I voted for what? Transparency, accountability, and consequences. I have voted for the equal application of the law. Looks
Amen.
Like this is the exclusion. I don't know why. Nobody's really gotten to the bottom of it. Everybody keeps saying that Donald Trump has nothing to do with it, which I really do believe because he's never proven himself to have that kind of a pedigree.
Then why would he protect these thugs?
I'm wondering if it's the wealthy that are on the list. How many big hedge fund guys? Because again, let's face it, I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein ever made a legitimate dollar. I think everything was based on, like I said, bribery, extortion, and blackmail, and also his ability to get somebody compromised and then get information from them. So when it came to publicly traded entities or maybe information that would benefit him in the financial world, I believe he was highly successful with that. And of
It's
course, I
just a
also think
massage, Lance. That's
I
all.
also think the intelligence agencies were paying him in some manner. It wasn't just about letting
Agreed.
him.
And that's the real question too. They probably don't want to expose the intelligence agencies, either CIA or any other foreign agents as well. And that's really the question. I mean, does Israel somehow get their hooks in Epstein, get their hooks in people? And where do these ties really go? We just saw that Joe Biden went to the CIA. He basically said, "I don't want you to report on my family's ties to whatever." And then, they decided to obey. No ties to anything. They say it's a scandal bigger than Watergate, but how come no one's going to jail?
That is a discussion. It's a hot topic on our regular shows because look, if you and I did it, we'd already have been indicted. We always talk about the low hanging fruit cases. We talk about Letitia James' mortgage fraud case, Adam Schiff's mortgage fraud case. These aren't complicated cases that take decades to investigate. They're simple, but nobody's being arrested. And that's always my concern when it comes to lots of talk and no action. And in the case of Epstein, and look, you're right. Ukraine, that's what they did. The CIA, covered up all the financial scams.
So who's going to prison for that?
Here's my thing, Sam. I have a question for you. Do you trust our intelligence organizations at this point?
No, and no.
Exactly. And I don't think the American public does either. The agencies have been running rogue, and we never see any accountability. We never see any agents get arrested. We never see anybody prosecuted from the CIA. We never see it, right? And when you think about the cover-up that the FBI participated in, now you're hearing more and more every single day. But yet, I've seen some guys put on relief. I've seen a few people get fired. But where are the arrests? Where is it where the FBI agents go to the jail for these actions?
Hired somewhere else behind the scenes for a chunk of change, and then you come back 20 years later when the public has a short memory, right? I mean, that's what happens.
And that is the danger. I said it on the show the other day. If we're not going to hold the government officials, the government employees to the same standard as the American public, meaning that they have to operate under the laws of the United States, then why should I? Why can't Lance Migliaccio go on a crime wave? I'm ready for a crime wave, Sam. Let's go. Let's just do it. Because the laws shouldn't apply to us. I should be able to walk in and say, well, sorry.
It's kind of like, give me a list of the things that I can, give me a list of the laws that I can break, and I'll find the ones that bring me the most money to violate, right?
Insider trading, very simple. Nancy Pelosi gets to do it. Sam Bushman can't. Let's get some insider trading. Let's do some blackmailing and extortion, Sam. I'll get the insider information. You execute the trades because you're the technical guy. We shouldn't get arrested because at the end of the day, if they're not going to arrest the individuals in D.C.
In fact, we should get promoted.
Yeah, I'm saying maybe we can become congressional members just on our insider trading.
I'd rather be a senator. I mean, I'm just gunning for, Anyway, it's very, very strange. So there you go. Now, Laura Loomer's in the news, like her, dislike her, whatever you want. But the Supreme Court declined to hear her lawsuit against social media companies. She basically says, hey, they weren't fair to me. They shut me down. Right, well, I was trying to run for office. It was a big problem. She's sued four times. They've shut her down every time. I guess it was X in 2018, Facebook 2019. But they reinstated her account in 2022. She now has over 1.8 million followers. But here's my question. Why does Trump win lots of money for libel, defamation? They shut his account down. I mean, he just got 24 million from YouTube because they didn't want to go to court. They didn't want the details drug out about who was being blocked, why, and how, and exposing their algorithms. So they gave Trump 24 million to be quiet and stop it. Trump's fine with that. But what about the rest of us that have been libeled and slandered and shut down and shadow banned and ridiculed and mocked and destroyed our character? And the list goes on, right? But what's the deal?
Listen, you're preaching to the choir. At the end of the day, when you get banned or suspended, we got suspended on X, and we're still suppressed. I believe there's still code running behind the scenes that's suppressing our voice because I see people post the same content I post, and they're getting hundreds of thousands of views. And we've got a good audience. We've got a nationally syndicated radio show. We have our regular show. But she's right. At the end of the day, that does have a financial impact. When you're in media like we are, and you get suspended or you get suppressed or you get, kicked off a platform because of your messaging, that has a financial impact. The Supreme Court should have heard the case, but you have to admit right now the judiciary is selectively appears to be helping Donald Trump, but the rest of us, we get egg foo young.
That's what's really happening. It's a sad tale to tell, and I support Laura in this. I think she's right, but there's several of us that ought to get it. And when Trump wins 24 million, he ought to share it with a few of us going, I know you guys will never get your heyday because you got a, two-tiered system. You got rednecks like us, don't get anywhere. You got the elites like Donald Trump that gets everywhere. You've also got Jack Smith. You got Alan Dershowitz going on TV criticizing former special counsel Jack Smith on Fox Business, accusing him of disgracing himself by, having private records of all these different people without their consent. But think about the wording. When you say you disgrace yourself, what you really mean is, we're going to talk about you on TV. We're going to say you're a bad guy, but disgracing yourself is not criminal. Everything they're saying walks this fine line of, we're not going to elevate it to the level of criminality. We are going to use it to advocate for our agenda, though. And that's really the problem here. Why isn't this guy in prison?
Simple. Because it's rules for thee, not for me. There are laws on the books right now. We're talking about United States senators being wiretapped by the FBI, the DOJ. There was involvement across the board, it looks like. The laws on the books are clear. If you wiretap somebody without judicial approval, meaning that you submitted a warrant to the judiciary, that the judiciary has to sign off on any wiretapping. At the end of the day, we don't even know if there's any warrants that exist. From what it sounds like, there aren't any. So why isn't he being prosecuted for federal wiretapping crimes? See, this is what's happening over and over again, Sam. I know that there's laws on the books. Why are they only enforced against Sam Bushman and Lance Migliaccio? Why are they not enforced against congressional members, against the DOJ, against the judiciary, and against federal agents?
When we come back, Trump says anyone who burns the American flag will be immediately arrested. The epochtimes.com with that. But now the flag installations have begun. Steak and Shake. Every Steak and Shake's going to put the tallest, biggest flag. Local laws will let them. It all begins now. Hang tight.
Welcome back to Liberty RoundTable Live with your host, Sam Bushman, and myself, Lance Migliaccio, educating and unifying the nation one episode at a time. Burn the flag, go directly to jail, says Donald Trump. Has he taken it too far? Of course, where does freedom of speech end and tyranny begin? Sam, what are your thoughts? Burning the flag, you're going to jail. Do not pass code. Go directly to jail.
I'm going to say shame on the Donald, number one. How dare you? Number two, the Supreme Court's already ruled that you can burn the flag. They already had that banned once, and it got overturned by the Supreme Court. But let me make it even more poignant for you, Lance. If it's somebody else's flag, you don't have the right to burn it because it's their property. If it's my flag, let me say that again, my flag, then it's my property. And if I want to burn my property, I can. Absolutely. Now, if you want to say, hey, you can't burn something in a building, or there's fire codes, or I get that there's some overlaying realities that we got to respect or understand. But how dare you say that I can't? What if I burn my coat? What if I burn the Russian flag? What if we should have rights, folks. And the Donald doesn't have any authority over that whatsoever. And to threaten such, somebody ought to sue him for intimidation, Lance. It's wrong.
My concern right now, and I agree with you. I think it's too much. If you want to burn your own property, you should be able to, assuming, I guess, if you're following the fire codes. But here's my concern. We really have gotten away from the love of country. We really have gotten away from strong nationalism. What I'm really worried about, Sam, is that I understand the message he's trying to send, because you've seen them pull, the Pledge of Allegiance out of the schools. We're not allowed to pray in the schools. This lack of pride for the country, for American values, it's missing. And I don't know if it's social media. I don't know if it's the removal of it in the school system. But I think that's what the Donald is trying to accomplish here. But I think he's overstepped the line. That's what I'm worried about.
Amen. It's a sad tale to tell. Now, what about this idea that Steak and Shake's putting up the tallest, biggest flags they can in any jurisdiction they can for their restaurants? They say they believe in the principles of America, baby.
God bless America. If you can go look at the American flag on a giant pole and have a great burger, fries, and a shake, more power to them. Of course, that's freedom of speech. They deserve to be able to do what they want to do on their properties, as long as they're, I guess, passing local code for the installation of the flag. And why shouldn't they be proud? They've got a successful company. America loves Steak and Shake. And, look, I say if they want to put a flag right there in front of everybody, so be it.
I'm going to get a steak burger just because, by the way.
Actually, and they're really good burgers. So you're not doing yourself a disservice, and a little American pride while you're having that great American burger and shake sounds good. I'm starting to wonder, Sam, Are we getting endorsements I don't know about? Are you holding back on me, brother?
I wish. No, I would never hold back. I wish we were getting endorsements because then we'd make some money. But I got a big problem now. It's a late breaking news story that just came out from the Epoch newsroom. James Comey pleads not guilty. It's a joke. It's not late breaking news. Come on.
I get it. I get it. And I got the joke. I totally follow it, but I got to tell you what I'm aggravated about. You just hit a hot spot with me. Sam, tomorrow they want to indict Sam. They have an indictment on Sam Bushman. They've approved the bill. And they're coming to arrest Sam Bushman.
As soon as they got the Democrats in charge, that's actually probably true.
Yeah. But they come in and they're coming to get Sam Bushman. And not only are they going to leak to the local news about this media personality Bushman, they're going to perp walk you. It's going to get covered. They're going to drag you out of the house. They're probably going to scare your pets, scare your family.
Like they did to Roger Stone.
100%. You just knew where I was going with this. You took away the wind in my sails there. Truth is, you were right over the target. That's my point. He gets walked out. CNN's there. They take him out in his underwear and a T-shirt. It's at, I don't remember, 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. They've got 40 armed agents, multiple vehicles, lights flashing, the whole thing.
CNN's ready to go with video.
And so I'm pissed. If we're going to arrest Comey, if we're going to arrest Schiff, if we're going to arrest Letitia James, the dirty 51+8, or anybody else, Barack Obama, I want perp walks. I want them to have the same embarrassment and the same thing that would happen to Lance Migliaccio if they were doing it to me. I'm tired of this, dual system. Oh, no, we can't walk out. Mr. Comey needs to be able to turn himself in. No, it's not only shock and awe. It's what they do. Comey's an intelligence operative. How do they know he wasn't going to be violent? My point is, Mr. Comey, if you could just turn yourself in, please. We're going to wait for you. It's okay. And don't worry, the media, we're not going to perp walk you, sir. No. I want tasers. I want mace. I want it all because that's exactly the way they would do us. They would have guns in our face and they would tell us to get down on our knees and they would immediately read us our rights. And that would be the plan. And the news would be there covering every ounce of it. I'm tired of this, Sam. I want to see it. I want to see that accountability consequences in the same manner they do to us, the same manner they did to the J6ers.
Is Pam Bondi's Fire and Ice coming close, Lance?
Well, here's the thing. The title of that show was, it for me is Pam Bondi the hero we all hoped for? Is she? Now, yeah, she had a great showing in front of Congress. I'm calling it Pam Bondi Fire and Ice. She definitely lit them up. She's smart. She's articulate. But so far, the majority of the cases I see are the wrongs done to Donald Trump. And I don't see any arrests yet. I don't see low-hanging fruit arrests. I don't see indictments coming down because the normal process is what? You get the indictment, and then you supersede them. You don't have to go into this long investigation. The dirty 51+8 are guilty. There's many people that are guilty of multiple crimes that are on the books. You got the FBI who wiretapped senators, probably illegally because haven't heard anything about them pulling warrants. I'm saying to you, Sam, yes, this was a great showing. She hammered Padilla, who I can't stand, who of course is the senator that ambushed Kristi Noem. And I think this part, I want to give her credit. So let me back up here. She did a great job. She hammered him. I've got some amazing video clips. Let's play the one with Padilla, and then you give me your thoughts. That's Media One.
Media One, people.
You want order in here now, yet you stormed the Director of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. You sure didn't have order that day, did you, Senator?
Attorney General, you are under oath. I did not storm the secretary, the video.
Oh, that was
makes
on
that very
video. That
clear.
video has been released, I believe, very publicly.
Mr. Chairman, recent actions raise serious concerns about Director Patel's judgment and politicization, including lawsuits from former FBI officials alleging retaliatory firings and his decision to cut off longstanding partnerships with civil rights organizations and his decision to fire an FBI agent for refusing to engage in a, quote, perp walk of James Comey. And on top of all that, his prematurely claiming that subjects were in custody after the shooting of Charlie Kirk. I take Attorney General Bondi's endorsement today of his work as her support for those actions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
May I respond, Senator Chairman?
Yes.
Under Director Patel, 23,000 violent criminals have been arrested, a 91% increase over last year. More than 1,500 child predators have been arrested. We are making cases in your jurisdiction constantly in California, and I wish you would care about those cases. We have disrupted 1,600 gangs and criminal enterprises, 1,600 gangs within this country, thanks to Director Patel and the great men and women of the FBI.
Lance?
What do you think, Sam? What do you think? What's your thoughts?
Here's what I think. I think that they love to do political theater. I think she did a good job. She hammered him. She pointed out a lot of factual truths. But Lance, it's kind of like, in IT, what we say is, hey, you got great internet, except for the last mile. The last mile, your internet sucks. And so therefore it's the weakest link in the chain. Yeah. And that's what we see here. I appreciate her dressing him down in front of Congress. I appreciate it making national TV and sound bites everywhere. But at the end of the day, Pam, if it's so criminal, if it's what you say it is, put people in prison. And if you're not going to put people in prison, I'm sick of hearing about it. Right? That's what I think.
And I have to agree with you. Look, this was a great showing for her. Of course, it was televised. She loves a good interview. And let's face it, I don't even know how many times she's been on Fox News since she's taken the position. I'd rather she spent more time in the office getting some indictments on these high-level people that have participated. I mean, she goes after, Senator Schiff. But how come he's not being arrested this morning? Why aren't they indicting him for the mortgage fraud?
What if Lance stormed Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Chief? Mm-hmm. What if you stormed her?
I would be right now through threats against a government official. There's multiple statutes.
You would probably be shot and dead.
Right now, if I didn't get shot on sight, there's no doubt that I wouldn't have gotten out. They would have said I was a threat to the community, and I probably would have gotten anywhere from 36 to 60 months for that behavior, assuming I never touched Noem.
And this senator just gets a dressing down that was fire and ice. All right.
This is not mainstream media, that's for sure. It is unfiltered truth. So if you're looking for lies, you're at the wrong spot. We're talking about Pam Bondi, and we're asking ourselves, is she doing the job that we all expected her to? She had a great showing in front of Congress. But, in this next clip, she's talking to Adam Schiff. There's a guy that committed mortgage fraud, most likely election fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, all the things that we would be charged for if we had done with our mortgage paperwork with Adam Schiff has allegedly done. But she's definitely hammering him. But when are we going to see him get perp walked? Or is he going to get the same treatment as Comey? Let's play the clip.
Todd Blanche and FBI Director Patel said there was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
So
and,
was she?
Was she? If you worked for me, you would have been fired because you were censured by Congress for lying.
We can stipulate to. You can stipulate to all your personal attacks on the Democratic members of the committee.
Personal attacks. You've been attacking my FBI director. You've been attacking my office. You've been attacking.
But what we're interested in.
Borders are.
What we're interested in is the answer to these oversight questions.
I want your
clown show, Lance. I don't mean to be rude. Yeah. I'm just saying he talked over her. She talked over him. What's getting done? Okay. In my opinion here, the question becomes, hey, this guy's quizzing down Pam Bondi. Why isn't he doing it from a jail cell?
Why is he allowed to do it at all? Because if he was in a jail cell, we would have a great break. We wouldn't have to hear from Adam Schiff for maybe a couple of weeks. That's the point, though.
Yeah,
We know that he's guilty of at least low-hanging fruit in that case. Forget his participation in the Russian collusion hoax. That's a whole different level of crime. But I just don't understand it, because do you actually believe that if he was indicted for mortgage fraud and he was facing the jail time that comes along with those crimes, don't you think that his
popping off to Pam Bondi, he wouldn't be doing that?
But how much would he cooperate on the Russian collusion hoax at that point? Couldn't they get all kinds of dirt that we don't know yet? Because he would I think he would squeal like a little worm. He would just squirm and squeal.
But right now he's got the upper hand because he's the, quote, senator, or whatever you want to say. He's the one in charge, supposedly, and Pam's supposed to, and she's just arguing with him. Who's in charge of whom when? And that's kind of the question, ladies and gentlemen. But the dialogue continued, Lance.
Yeah, look, I'm not a fan. Here's another one. If you guys know Senator Richard Blumenthal, I like to call him Stolen Valor. Here's a guy that lied about his military pedigree, about Vietnam, and he wants to talk about impropriety with Pam Bondi. And I got to say, in this case, she does just rip him apart. Let's play Media 3.
I have a question. In the merger that took place.
Which merger? You've listed many.
Involving American Express GBT. I understand that Brian Ballard, longtime backer and head of the law firm where you worked, was instrumental in lobbying the Justice Department to drop that lawsuit. It was dismissed, so it's not subject to a court review. What conversations did you have with Mr. Ballard?
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You
you.
admitted you
I am
lied
not
to be
accusing you
elected
of
a U.S. senator.
impropriety.
You
I'm asking
lied.
you
How
about
dare you? I'm a
conversations
career prosecutor.
with Mr.
Don't you
Ballard,
ever challenge my integrity.
had
I have
apparently-
abided by every ethics standard. Do not question my ability to be fair and impartial as Attorney General, and anything
You'll
with
answer that
my
question to
former
another of my
firm,
colleagues.
Ballard Partners.
Thank you.
So what I think about that one, Lance, again, just nothing but an arguing match. It's great, Jerry Springer-style theater. But at the end of the day, here's my question. I'm going to question Pam Bondi's integrity, too. You know what? The Democrats sometimes have some dirt on people, and they're airing it. And what we want to do is attack the other guy and say they don't have any right to attack us. I want to step back and say, hey, if there's allegations about both of them, somebody ought to be investigating and get to the truth. If the truth sets her free, by all means. But I don't see anything wrong with it. So I get what she's saying, but at the same time, part of the problem with this is, hey, I'm above reproach because I'm an AG. I'm above reproach because I'm a prosecutor. I don't think so. And so I don't like that I'm above reproach idea. Let's vet all of that, investigate all of that, and hey, let the truth lead where it goes, Lance.
I mean, I love your thinking, but where do we get the oversight from? Currently, the oversight is supposed to come from the OIG. It's supposed to come from DOJ supervision in the criminal division. It's supposed to come from the Office of Professional Responsibility. It's supposed to come from the Public Integrity Division. It's supposed to come from the Civil Rights Division. Even it's supposed to come from the bar associations in all the individual states. But in the case of all those other departments I just mentioned, they're all Department of Justice departments. If the supervision is coming from the same department, how do you get any accountability? And let's face it, what do these DOJ prosecutors hide behind? What do the federal agents hide behind? Well, of course, it's absolute immunity. It's qualified immunity. They believe they're above the law. So I don't know much about this merger situation. I don't know whether Pam Bondi participated in impropriety or not. But who's going to do the investigation?
Well,
who's going to do the oversight?
It should be these checks and balances that Congress and the courts and the president and these different things have. The Justice Department is under the president's purview for the most part. And so Congress can, put together committees and look at them. They can go ahead and look at Congress critters for their offenses. What we really have is a check and balance breakdown, constitutionally speaking, Lance.
Committees? when have we ever gotten anything out of a committee other than a bunch of foot stomping and fist clenching and a bunch of talking over each other? These committees are a waste of time. When they say they're going to subpoena people to Congress, I laugh every single time. It's worthless. What we really need is a fourth branch of government that's an oversight branch that's somehow run completely independently. I don't even know how we do this. But at the end of the day, you can't have the foxes watching the hen house.
You got
and
that
that
right.
is what we have.
We need the checks and balances, and that's what it really comes down to. And the checks and balances aren't working because they're all guilty, and they all agree they'll have political theater in the public forum, but at the end of the day, nobody will prosecute. What's the next one? Josh Hawley?
I mean, look, he's calling out every Senate Democrat for refusing to care that the Biden DOJ spied on their political opponents, and he's right.
He's 100% right. But listen to this clip. Let's see what this one is and kind of comment on this one.
And the current president, I've also heard them said, and I just wrote it down because I wanted to be sure I heard it correctly. I've heard them say that Joe Biden never targeted his political enemies. Joe Biden never directed his attorney general to target his political opponents. That's interesting, because I could have sworn that yesterday we learned that the FBI tapped my phone. Let's look at it. We've got a list. Tapped my phone, tapped Lindsey Graham's phone, tapped Marsha Blackburn's phone, tapped 5 other phones of United States senators. Gee, it sure looks like targeting political opponents to me, and yet I haven't heard a word from that side of the dais about any concern whatsoever. We've got nothing but concerns today, but no concern at all for a Justice Department that is tapping the phones of sitting United States senators because who knows why. They don't like them. They're members of the opposition party. They're Republicans. They're conservatives. You've seen this document, Attorney General Bondi. Well, what was going on here? Who ordered this? Who ordered the tapping of the phones of United States senators?
Okay.
Senator Hawley, I cannot discuss the details of that right now for very good reason.
You're going to do a thorough investigation into this, I trust. Is that correct?
We will be looking at all aspects of this, and I have talked to Director Patel at length about this.
And you're going to figure out who was involved in this, who signed off.
All right. So there you have it. You look at it, though, and what you've got, in my opinion, is the Republicans attacking the Democrats attacking the Republicans. Pam Bondi won't answer questions, which means she's going to look into it. I guarantee in 6 months, a year, 2 years, after it's too late and a dollar short, she's going to say, you know, it was really bad they did this, but it's not really criminal. It was horrible. It was ill-advised. It was in bad taste. It was certainly an ethics violation, but that's about all there, Lance.
Listen, you're right over the target. A lot of talking, a lot of fist clenching, a lot of rhetoric. So far, I'm looking for actions, because actions speak louder than words. Show me some arrests. Show me some perp walks. Show me some high-level government officials that violated the laws of the United States being treated just like the regular citizens, just like Sam and Lance.
Anyway, I'm just concerned about it because I know Pam Bondi is saying, hey, it's too early in the investigation. But here's the problem. Why are we hearing that senators' phones were tapped literally 10 months after Donald takes office? Literally, I mean, I don't know how many months after Kash Patel and Pam Bondi were put in place, but, and we're just hearing about this now as if no one really knew this happened. I don't really understand it, Lance. I don't. Why is it taking so long? And now it's like, oh, we're going to look into it.
There's no doubt. I don't like the speed in which they're operating, because I think if it was a regular citizen, that person would already be sitting in jail. And this has been a continued pattern. Listen, the federal agencies are weaponized and they're violating the laws. The Department of Justice is weaponized and they're violating the laws. These are prosecutors and federal agents that need to face real jail time. Enough is enough, Sam.
Senators storming the Secretary of Homeland Security. And so far, all there is Jerry Springer dialogue. Nothing more. Folks, it's got. I'm saying it's got. I'll say it one more time. It absolutely has got to change. For Lance Migliaccio, the Big Mig Brothers, thebigmig.com, available on X, Rumble, YouTube, just about everywhere. Check it out, the Big Mig, baby. And I'm Sam Bushman, syndicated by the Loving Liberty Networks, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.